tech firms are being told they must take down abusive images within 48 hours or they could face large fines or even having their service blocked in the UK under new laws proposed by Sir Keir Starmer and his government.
Yeah, the government's move is part of a wider strategy to crack down on violence against women and girls. And the Victims Minister, Alex Davies-Jones, joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So this idea of coming down hard on the tech firms has been going on for quite some time. Something very similar to what you're announcing today was announced back in September 24. Then again, I think you came on to Good Morning Britain in January in 2025, calling it urgent to take down sexually explicit images without the consent of the victim, and now we're in 2026. So, and even now in the proposals that are going through, you're saying that the tech firms will still have 48 hours from the moment that a victim has flagged it as being an abusive image to them. They still have 48 hours to keep that image online. Why?
So these images that are proliferating online are abusive, they are degrading, and they are wholly appalling. And the platforms have a duty to act here. They have a responsibility to ensure that any abuse that is taking place on their platforms is addressed. And if they don't take action, then Ofcom as a regulator and the government, we will act. We will ensure that they are fined 10% of their global annual revenue, or if they fail to comply even further, we will block their services from in the UK. We've given them 48 hours to ensure that the images are taken down, because we believe that is fair and proportionate in terms of the amount of time that the platforms will have to find these images, identify them and take the action to remove them. But if they don't take that action, then we will act.
But it's a lot longer than it is for images or related to terrorism or to do with children, sexually explicit pictures of children, which I understand those two are very extreme things. But I think victims of this, and there are thousands of women, I mean, I think there's a study that says almost half of people will know somebody who has had an image of them put online without their consent. I think for those people who have been banging on about this for so long will think, yeah, we're just behind the curve with the tech companies again. 48 hours, your whole reputation, the stress of it for 48 hours still being up is kind of, it's not fair. And I'm sure that the companies could work faster, couldn't they?
There is an epidemic of violence against women and girls happening both online and offline. The government was elected with a mission to halve the levels of violence against women and girls over the course of a decade. And by announcing the measures that we have today is just one element of tackling this. What we are doing is using this hand in hand. So we've already created new criminal offences to go after those who are making this content, who are sharing this content without consent. We are now putting the responsibility on the platforms to act to ensure that they take some responsibility to remove this content, because they are monetising and they are profiting from this abuse and this misery. And if they don't act, then we, the government, will act to ensure that they do take action.
We appreciate that, but you're still not answering the question. The concern is the 48 hours. Now, if I was to report an inappropriate image, an indecent, intimate image, why does it take a tech firm which has billions, has all the resources we can imagine, why is it taking them 48 hours? The suffering, you're victims minister, that's not going to help the victims, that's 48 hours. And then what's stopping them putting them back up again anyway? I mean, it doesn't feel like this is a really severe punishment, does it?
So they've got 48 hours to, from the moment that they have been alerted by the victim that these images are online, to identify the images, to find them, to remove them and delete them all off every aspect of the platform. We believe that is fair and proportionate in terms of the amount of time that they have to do this. And if they don't, they can do it sooner, they can do it immediately. But we've given them a deadline of 48 hours because the compliance and the implications of what happens to them if they don't act are quite severe, and we will be taking that action.
So you're talking about victims, obviously, because that is who you represent when you talk about tech firms and you talk about tech firms taking responsibility. So Keir Starmer this morning in an interview with the BBC has spoken about Prince Andrew and the Epstein files and has been asked about whether Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew, of course, his titles have been stripped, should be made in some way to go and at least have an interview with those people who are investigating this here and in America. And he has said that nobody is above the law, but hasn't gone as far as to say that Andrew should be forced in some way. What's your view on this? Because, of course, that's Sir Keir Starmer's view and he is the leader of the party and the Prime Minister. But as Victims Minister, I wonder if you would care to go further?
I echo the words of the Prime Minister that no one is above the law here, and anyone who has any information as to illegal activity or any information that can help an investigation and bring justice to these victims who have been denied justice for so long should do so. Whether that is Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, whether that is Peter Mandelson, anyone who has information should work with law enforcement to provide that information directly to them.
I just wonder when you say that nobody's above the law and that you are victims minister, if this was somebody in your town and a victim of sexual crime had gone to the police and said, I was in a room, I saw somebody, I think it was that person, and we know there they are. The police would automatically, would they not, go and speak to that person, haul them in and say, listen, if you don't comply, you know, we're going to go to the courts and we're going to make you talk to us. I mean, that's how the justice system works. Otherwise, nobody would ever volunteer to go in, would they?
Well,
it does feel like that there is a different way out for somebody from the royal family to not be made to go and answer questions.
Well, as I've stated, no one is above the law here, but you've touched on an issue here which is at the heart of the issue, is that this does happen in towns like the one I represent. This happens up and down the country to thousands of women and girls every single day. That is why we made it a priority for this government to tackle the levels of violence against women and girls. We needed to overhaul the criminal justice system when we came into power to ensure that it was serving victims, putting victims back at the heart of this. That is why we've created the new criminal offences that we have on deepfake images, on spiking, on ensuring that child sexual abuse victims get the support that they need. All of this is the mission, driving mission for the Prime Minister and for me as the Victims Minister and for this government, for this Labour government, to ensure that we are tackling this problem, because it's not just the high-profile cases that we all hear about every single day. This is happening every day in communities like the one I represent. It's happening online and offline, and we need to tackle it wherever it happens.
OK. Can we draw your attention to a topic that has been really popular this morning? We've had a lot of people messaging in about this. This is a leak that has come out that suggests that the government is going to review the right to special needs support for many children going forward. This is the Special Education Needs and Disabilities, otherwise known as SEND system. There are suggestions that some conditions, if you like to call them those, whether that's autism and ADHD, people who suffer from them will lose their EHCP support. There's about 400,000 people who might lose that. That's a real concern. And for you as a Victims Minister, it must be a real concern, because if we don't look after children, all children at school, they can become victims of crime. They can be less protected on our streets. That must be a real concern for you. So what are the government doing? Can you tell us any more about this?
So this is a concern for me, not just as a government minister, but as an SEND mum myself. So my little boy has non-verbal autism, and I have been through the process. I know how hard it is, and I can speak directly to the anxiety that I know thousands of parents will be facing today, because leaks like this are unhelpful. You know, what is important is that parents hear directly from the government in full about our plans, and we will be outlining our plans in full, because it's important that they are out there so that parents aren't suffering and they aren't worried about and anxious about the future. What I will state is that none of these plans that we are proposing will happen before 2030, and none of these plans will be done without consultation with parents and lived experience at their heart.
But can you... Sorry, we're running out of time, and I really appreciate that you're a mother of a SEND student, but can you reassure other mothers and fathers and guardians that the protection that they're getting and the support they're getting for their children, they will continue to get? Or you're saying you can't guarantee that at this stage? What
I will say is that no child is the same. You know, they're all different, and what we need to ensure is that every child has the best possible opportunities and support available to them. We need to ensure that we have that consultation with parents at their heart, and the Education Secretary will be outlining the full plans in due course.
When will we hear that? When you say due course, do you have any idea?
So very soon. We need to get this right, and we will be laying this forward very soon.
OK, very soon.
Alex Davies-Jones, thank you so much for being on the programme.